Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another live session from the series How to Get a Job here in Australia. And in this live session number 112 that I hold every week on Sundays, 8:30 p.m. Brisbane time, I will be talking about 7 tips to help you to get your professional engineering job here in Australia. And if you have any questions about this topic, please send me in the comments, and in the middle of the live session, I will be checking the comments and I'll be answering those questions there. But first, for those that don't know me, my name is Gerson Ida, and I'm the founder of www.engineersinaustralia.com, a website to share content of value and useful information to help you in your journey to validate your engineering qualification here in Australia. And I also share information about other subjects in engineering, like workplace health and safety, environmental management, and also the day-to-day of an engineer here in Australia, and about this special series, How to Get Your Professional Job in Australia. And if you haven't joined my Telegram group yet, what's Telegram? Telegram is a messaging app, looks like a WhatsApp, but in my view is more professional. And it delivers the posts and messages and audios to everyone in the group. Different from WhatsApp. WhatsApp has an algorithm, and with large groups, the message doesn't really go to everyone. And in my engineering qualification validation group in Telegram, I've got already more than 800 members. So if you want to be part of the group, I'm going to paste, copy and paste. Where's that? Where is that? No. Yes. Here. Yeah, I'm going to paste in Facebook. And also I'm going to paste in Instagram. Instagram looks like can I? Let me have a look if I can paste in here. I think I can. So I paste it in Instagram. You actually, in Instagram, if you go to my bio as well, if you click on the link, there's a button, well, a few buttons. One of the buttons is to join my Telegram group. You need to first download the app, and then you can click on that link, and then you can join our group. And also, if you're interested in my free workshop that I'm going to start 5th of September, the name of the workshop is I Want to Become an Engineer in Australia. So you can register to the next workshop also. I'm just going to paste the link so you guys can register if you haven't already. The registration is free. It's going to be pretty much a full week full of content where in just 1 week you're going to learn everything you need to know to start your engineering qualification validation process. So let's get down to the business now. And I'm really happy to be here to share my experience as a recruitment panel member and also recruitment panel chair. And I have recruited lots of engineers and project managers, and I have compiled many tips to help engineers to get their first professional job here in Australia. And tonight I'm going to share 7 of those tips that I hope will help you to get a job as an engineer. So tip number 1, and also remembering that I'm going to do a PDF of this document, and I will be posting my Telegram, and I'm going to explain a little bit later how you can get it. So tip number 1, consider the cover letter as a document more important than the CV or the resume. And many of you guys were classified as job seekers. You invest a lot of time in your CV or your resume. And some people do not really pay much attention to the cover letter. And this could be a very serious, in my view, almost fatal mistake in your job search journey. Why is that? Because many employers and recruiters, especially and including myself, I read the cover letter first. And depending on the quality of the cover letter, I might read the resume. And why is that? Because when you apply, when you advertise a position, you may end up getting a lot of applicants, a lot of applications, and time is limited. And usually in the advertisement, you ask the candidates to address some key competencies or selection criteria, and they should include those in the cover letter. And if the cover letter doesn't really have anything, it means that first, the candidate probably didn't really read the advertisement. The candidate probably didn't tailor the application and pretty much just kind of fired hundreds and hundreds of resumes and cover letters, all the same. So, and the logic behind is if the applicant didn't really spend time or didn't invest or dedicate time and effort to tailor an application, then why would the panel bother to kind of spend a little bit more time reading a document that is just generic? So keep in mind that some of the employers and recruiters will not even consider your resume until those people, they are satisfied with the content of your cover letter. So this document, the cover letter, is of paramount importance. Tip number 2 is about customization of your curriculum and your cover letter. And that is another common mistake that where the applicant usually uses the same generic template of the curriculum and cover letter and sends to every single position that he or she finds on those websites. So you go to indeed.com.au or seek.com.au, and you ended up kind of finding lots of positions, and you send the same cover letter and you send the same curriculum to all of those positions. So this is a very common error. The CV must be personalized and customized for each vacancy that you're going to be applying for, but this does not mean that you must make up experiences and skills to align with the vacancy that's been offered. So when you apply for a particular position, that position will have some specific tasks or will require some specific skills. So when I mean about tailoring or customizing your application, your resume, it means that from the experience that you have had, you need to then customize your application. Don't make up things that you haven't done it yet, because if you do that, you're probably going to be caught, because some of the questions can be about those experiences that you haven't done it, and then you will be caught short in your answers. So customizing your CV or your resume means that you must emphasize the specific experiences you have had and include in the body of your CV that addresses the skills or selection criteria required by the company. And this strategy will make your cover letter, also you do obviously this customization, as I mentioned, the title, you do for your cover letter and your CV. And when you do that in your cover letter as well, it's much more likely to be appreciated by the company or the recruiter, as you will demonstrate the specific characteristics, and sometimes they are unique to the advertised job vacancy. So people reading the applications, they know if you spent time tailoring your application or if it is just a generic application. When it is a generic application, almost certain that the recruiters are not going to spend and they're not going to value too much your application. When the recruiters, they realize that you spent time to customize and to tailor your application, they will certainly appreciate and they will read with more attention. About common or generic cover letters, that is a common mistake for candidates to use just a generic cover letter containing only personal and professional characteristics without considering that each position may require specific skills and experience. So how can you customize or tailor your cover letter or your resume? First, it's a good idea to research the company that you're applying for, or perhaps you research the type of industry that the company is in. Sometimes, obviously, the company's name is kept confidential, so it's not disclosed in the advertisement. But usually the text in the advertisement, they will talk about what sort of industry is the company in. So perhaps you research about the industry, you research about the projects that are going on in that industry, or if the company disclosed the name, then you go to the website of the company, you have a look at the projects that the company is delivering. So when you are doing your application, you can then relate the experiences that you had to the projects or the needs that the company is demonstrating in their, for example, organizational website. So understand the projects that the company is delivering or the ones that are being planned within the industry in question. A lot of companies, they recruit people because they are going to start delivering some projects. They haven't started yet, but they are going to start delivering. So have a think about how your skills and competencies and your experience can help the company in the delivery of the future projects that they are going to deliver. The other hint is about, which is hint number 3, answer the questions with real examples. So that is about let's say that you applied, you sent your resume, your cover letter, and then you get that phone call, really exciting, saying that you've been successful in the shortlisting and they would like to explore further your skills and competencies and having a professional interview. So that's very exciting. Obviously, you ended up getting very nervous because you will face usually an interview panel with perhaps 3 or 4 people. And they will be asking you lots of questions. So the tip is to answer the questions with real examples. So when the panel of interviewers, they ask the questions, they are usually interested in knowing how you handled a real problem rather than the specific answer itself. So they want to see if you are competent or not in that area. And what does competency mean? Competency means that you have a knowledge and you have applied that knowledge and got very good outcomes. So that means that you are competent. And that's what should kind of guide the answers that you're going to give. So try to explore the answer, whatever is the question, with the following structure. So first, give the background of the project or the problem, and then you start describing the problem-solving methodology that you used, and then you list 2 or 3 options of solutions that you elaborated, or 2 or 3 options that you thought about it. And then you be sure to put the pros and cons of each of those options, and then explain the reasons why you chose a particular solution. And then you describe the results obtained and the benefits achieved. And in the end, report the reasons why your role and your contribution was instrumental in delivering and achieving the goals and results. So the interview panel, we also appreciate if you use technical terminology, standards, technical specifications, quality tools, and other, obviously, technical terminology during your response. So, for example, if you're going to a job as a project manager, so when the question comes about to give an example of project management, etc., make sure that you, if you've done it, of course, if you have followed, for example, PMBOK methodology, name the 10 areas of project management and the main achievements in each of those 10 areas there. So let me show you guys how the PDF is taking shape. So that is the PDF that I prepared a little bit earlier. So I spent a little bit of time to prepare this one. I hope that you guys can appreciate. And I've got some questions already that I'll be answering soon. So this is the PDF. The PDF will have the link, and I'm actually going to show you a little bit later on the workshop webpage. So tip number 1, consider the cover letter as a document more important than the CV. Tip number 2, customize your curriculum and cover letter. Tip number 3, answer the questions with real examples. So there's 4 more tips. And how are you going to be able to get this PDF? So what I'm going to do, you need to go to my Instagram. I would like some engagement with you guys. If you go to my last post in Instagram, I've got this picture here, which is obviously this live session, a picture calling for the live session. That's in English because there is a picture in Portuguese and a picture in English. So you go to my last post, which is the English picture. I'm going to make a comment now, and the comment is going to be that question in red. What was one learning to get a professional job in Australia? So I'll put that in the comment. And what I would like you guys to do is to like the post and then write in the comments the answer of this question. And if I get engagements, which means likes and posts, I will then make this Word document as a PDF, and I'm going to post in my Telegram group. So those ones that arrive now, the Telegram group is the link to join the Telegram group is in the comments. And I will be revealing the password of the PDF towards the end of the live session. So you stay with me until the end. Okay, so let's keep going with tip number 4. And just before that, I think there are some questions. I'm going to answer those. I think in Facebook, Ariel, should a cover letter be written on a third person or first person view? Yeah, that's a good question, Ariel. You got to think about what's the purpose of the cover letter. The cover letter is about you. The cover letter is addressing your competencies. The cover letter is addressing your experiences and your skills in answering some questions that the recruiter is asking. And I know that some cover letters, they are done by recruitment agencies, and then the recruitment agencies, they put in third person because they're talking about you. So in my view, all my cover letters were always in the first person because the company is interested in me. The company is not interested and is not going to recruit the recruitment agency, for example. They're going to recruit you. So I believe, and I always done that, and I always suggest that to my students and people who ask me to put every time in the first person. I know that sometimes it can become a little bit selfish, etc. There are some areas of the cover letter that you can explore teamwork. It's when you're going to say we, but you need to say that you delivered a particular project, and you did that, and you did whatever you did. So I'd say that it would be better to put in the first person. I'm just going to check Instagram. It's all good. Yeah, no questions there on Instagram. That's okay. So keep going. Tip number 4, be very clear when addressing the competencies or selection criteria. Most job vacancies for engineers or project managers, they have in the job description, usually there is a job description attached to the job advertisement. And in the job description, there could be some terminologies like key competencies, selection criteria, is this job for you? And those are considered to be merit evaluation criteria. So, and when you have those, you need then to be very clear when you're addressing those competencies. And how do you make that clear? So it's very important that in your cover letter, you are very specific and write addressing each selection criteria or competency. Many candidates, what I've seen in many cover letters, they have like the body of the cover letter, and in that body, they mix up everything. So if the job position has like 5 selection criteria, they ended up mixing everything in the body of the cover letter, making the life of the recruiter a little bit more difficult, because then you need to try to separate and classify the information yourself. You got to remember the life of the recruiter and the panel member who's reading the applications. If you have 50 applications in front of you, the easier you can make the life of the recruiter, the better impression he or she is going to have about you. So let's say that a job has like 5 selection criteria, and one of them is, let's say, engineering knowledge. So the first paragraph of your cover letter, you're going to introduce yourself, that you want to apply for that position, etc., where you're working, and why you would like that position. And then the second paragraph, you believe that you're a strong candidate for that position because you can demonstrate the competencies as below. And then you put engineering knowledge, if that is one selection criteria, for example. And then under that, so you highlight the like a title, engineering knowledge, and then you as a candidate, you should give an example. Remember what I said in tip number 3, a real example of what was the engineering problem that you faced, what was the problem-solving method used, what were the strengths and weaknesses of the solutions, the solution options, which option did you choose and why, and what were the results achieved, and finally, what was your role for those results. So that is competency 1, for example, engineering knowledge. Competency 2, project management. And then you write a little bit of paragraph about your project management experience. You can certainly use an example of a project that you delivered, and then you write that paragraph there. Usually cover letters, they have a maximum of 2 pages. Majority of them, they have maximum of 2 pages. So you can write quite a bit. So just make sure that you're very objective and you have results. But very important, if it has 5 competencies, and if the job advertisement is asking you to address in your cover letter those competencies, make sure that you make very clear the title of each of those competencies. Okay, the other tip number 5, don't leave until the last minute to write up your curriculum vitae. So your CV should be written with a lot of planning and research, as I mentioned in tip number 2. Take time to research the company, the industry in which the job is inserted. Talk to the recruiter about the job and clarify any questions. when you ring the recruitment agency and you talk with the agent, he or she may talk to you and give a little bit more information about the job, so you can then customize a little bit better your CV and your cover letter. So this time spent will serve as the basis for customizing your CV and will make the recruitment panel members interested and impressed by the quality of information contained in your CV. And remember, they will be reviewing dozens of resumes and selecting those which have an extra thing. So if you are just using those generic CVs or generic cover letters, it's just going to be another one in a pile of 40, 50 applications. But if your CV and your cover letter is showing that you really spent time researching and tailoring for that position, it's going to catch the attention of the recruitment panel. And with social networks, obviously like LinkedIn, you can research the project company, the projects that the company is delivering, and the services that those companies they are offering. And then you can include in your CV if you perhaps you have had an experience that matches with what the company is doing at the moment, and you can include that in your CV, in your cover letter, to kind of create like a rapport between your skills and whoever is reading your application. Okay, I'm going to reveal the password of the PDF. So that's the PDF that I'm going to post in my Telegram group if I have likes and comments in my last post in Instagram. So you just need to answer this question here, which is in the comment. What was one learning to get a professional job in Australia? So from tonight's live session, perhaps you have a learning. I hope you do. And then you just need to put in the comments in my last Instagram post, what was one learning to get a professional job in Australia. And then depending on the number of, if I have engagements, likes and comments, I will then make this Word document as a PDF and I will post in my Telegram group. And the password is going to be 7 tips. So I actually going to write just that password here. Those ones later on won't probably know, but it's going to be 7 tips. So that is in Instagram, and those ones in Facebook, 7 tips. So that's going to be the password of this PDF. But again, I need to get likes and comments in my last Instagram post. So tip number 5, don't leave until the last minute to write up your CV. Tip number 6 was a little bit of hint there. Tip number 6 is to increase your networking. So networking is vital for you to get noticed. Get to know who is who in the zoo, how they say here in Australia. And when you improve your networking, you elevate your profile and you make connections. Obviously now with the COVID-19 restrictions, it's a little bit harder, but still there are organizations that are promoting webinars. They're promoting face-to-face workshops, especially here in Queensland, now that we kind of got out of lockdown. But before the latest lockdown, life was almost normal, and we started to have face-to-face workshops. So, but even with online webinars, it's still somehow possible because you can participate in those webinars by asking questions. And obviously, when you ask clever questions, people they notice, people they usually the webinar promoters sometimes they have a space for you to leave your details, your professional details, and then the organizers they send to the webinar participants a list of those people there. So there is some opportunity for networking. Obviously, it's not the same as face-to-face, but I'm hoping that you guys soon will be able to participate face-to-face. So where are you guys from? You guys from Australia? Where are you? Are you in Brisbane or Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide? Are you guys in Brazil? And if you are from Brazil, thanks for waking up early and participate in the live session. So would be interested to know where you guys from. Okay. I'll get my notes back. And obviously, when you are doing your networking, you, especially for your validation process, is very timely when you participate in those webinars or workshops. You can also obviously be making your CPD, your continuing professional development, and you will need those CPD hours in your validation process. There are a few more questions here. Thanks, Ariel. He's got another. That's another question from Ariel. For Engineers Australia Migration Skills Assessment, if my skills get assessed as a professional engineer, would that be sufficient to land a professional engineering job, or would I need to get another kind of validation? Yeah, that's a good question, Ariel. And in Australia, unfortunately, the engineering profession is not regulated in all states. Queensland is probably the only state that the engineering profession is 100% regulated, and to be able to work unsupervised and to get a professional engineer job here and provide professional engineering services, you got to be RPEQ. In New South Wales and Victoria, they passed last year a partial registration process. So from 1 July this year, they started to have the engineer registration scheme for 5 engineering types. I think I'll try. I think it's civil, structural, mechanical, electrical, and fire safety, if I'm not wrong. Don't quote me on that. But I think it's those 5 types of engineering in New South Wales and Victoria. And obviously, there is a transition period there, but in probably a couple of years, or I don't know when, but there will be a mandatory registration in New South Wales and Victoria as well, if you are not going to be directly supervised by a registered engineer. Here in Queensland, if you are not a registered professional engineer of Queensland, RPEQ, you cannot provide professional engineering services if you're not RPEQ. If you are providing professional engineering services, you need to be, and not RPEQ, you need to be directly supervised by RPEQ. So that's a good question, Ariel. The other question is, would it be okay to call the company to follow up for the job postings after you submitted your CV and cover letter? Also, if ever, how long should you wait before you make the follow-up? Yeah, the follow-up, that's interesting. There's nothing stopping you to follow up and ring the recruiter, for example, or the company. Usually, companies, they will take some time to finalize the process and make a job offer. So it can take up to, let's say that you apply for a job. If you are not shortlisted, companies usually, they just going to advise the unsuccessful ones for the shortlisting, even after they have the successful candidate for the position. Because what happens is that sometimes they select a successful candidate, and then for some whatever reason, the selected candidate may not or choose another job or whatever. and then they have to go back to the pool of applicants and then choose somebody else. So usually they wait until everything is 100% confirmed, and then they advise the unsuccessful candidates. And that can take anything between perhaps 3 to 6 weeks. So I know it's a little bit of wait, but that's how it happens. All right, and then tip number 7 is to validate your engineering qualification. And just talking about validating the engineering qualification, got some answers here. Regina from Sydney, thank you. Chandraina in Brazil, thank you. What about the others? Let's have a look. Ariel from Philippines, thank you. What else? Let's see. All right. And I'm going to show you the website of the workshop. If you guys are interested to participate in the free workshop, I want to become an engineer in Australia. It's going to happen starting on the 5th of September at 10 a.m. With a live webinar. So this time is Brisbane time. So Guy Detoni in Instagram, Gold Coast. Yeah, great. So the workshop is going to start on the 5th of September, 10 a.m. And 20 days, 12 hours to go. And here, if you want to register, you can click in here. It will open up a registration page. It's a bit slow. Yeah, so that's a registration page. So very simple. You just need to put your email address and your name, and then select all that applies. So I'm a Brazilian. I'm living in Australia, and then I register. So that's simple. You don't need too much for that. Once you register, you will receive an email. So that's very important to check your email inbox, because your confirmation email is going to go, and it's important to save my email address, because sometimes my emails, they go to the junk mail box. And if the emails are going to junk mail box, it means that when I send the link to the webinar or the link to the videos that I'm going to send to you guys about the workshop, you're not going to get it. So you can watch this 47 seconds video. I talk about the difficulty of emails, that email, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't get it. To prevent that, to make sure that you're always going to get the news about the workshop, you can then join my WhatsApp group. I created a WhatsApp group just for the workshop, and then you can join the group, and then it's going to be another way that I can send you the links. So if you're not getting the emails, you will get in the WhatsApp group. This WhatsApp group has already 200 people. The limit in the WhatsApp group is 256. So I think it's going to be full pretty soon. So and then I'll have to create another group in WhatsApp. So that's why I like Telegram a little bit more, but I'm conscious that a lot of people, majority of you guys still use WhatsApp. So I'm working with WhatsApp, and also obviously you can join my Telegram group as well here. So the idea is for you to be part of my social media, so I can send you the notifications and the videos of the workshops, so you don't miss out. But the website of the workshop is this one, and you can check in here when I release all the videos there. You can then watch from here. At the moment they are all locked, but as the workshop starts, those videos will start being unlocked. And if you are in Brazil, you have the option to translate everything to Portuguese. And this website I put together myself, so sorry if it's not really very professional, but it's a civil engineer making a website. So that is in Portuguese. Something funny happening with the time, but then it's the Brasilia time. So all the times here, they are Brasilia time for those people in Brazil. So just going back to English then. So again, that is the link. So you guys, I'll paste again. So it's in the comments, but I'll paste again so you guys can have a look. Okay, I'm going back to my notes and talk about the last tip, which is to validate your engineering qualification. And why is that important? Because majority of reputable companies will ask if you have your engineering qualification validated, which demonstrates that you have been assessed by Engineers Australia and your qualification is equivalent to an Australian qualification. Especially in times like this, where there are a large number of engineers in the market and recruiters and employers, they have at their disposal a large number of people wanting a job. So a good proof of that, when we advertised for an engineer position a few months ago, we ended up having more than 70 applicants, 70 applicants. And it's a lot of applicants. I was the chair of the recruitment panel. And I can tell you, if we have to shortlist about 3 or 4 engineers for a professional interview, those ones that are not validated, we don't really spend a lot of time looking at their applications. Because because we put in our job application that they should be here in Queensland, especially that position was a more senior position, needed to be RPQ. So those people that are not even validated, obviously they're not RPQ. We don't really spend a lot of time in that. But even for junior engineers and graduate engineers, there's a lot of engineers that they are applying that they are already validated. So why waste time looking at applications of people that are not validated? If in front of you, you have a lot of engineers that are already validated and they are ready to work. So even though some states, they're not really mandating the validation to get a job, and but it's going to be how the market is going to dictate. If you have lots and lots of engineers that are already validated, put in an application. If you are not validated, you can think about yourself. If you're not validated, what's going to be the chance to compete against 10, 20 engineers that are already validated? So put yourself in the shoes of the employer and the recruiter. Would you give a chance to somebody that's not validated if you have 10 or 20 other engineers that are validated? And you got to think that here in Australia, the legal system you can get in trouble if you ended up doing things against the law. And if you are providing professional engineering services here in Queensland, and if you are not registered, you are incurring in criminal offense. So companies are not going to be liable and exposed to that risk. Where I'm here. Yeah, so I'm just saying that when you apply for a job and if you are not validated, you are going to be competing with another 40, 50, 60 other engineers that a lot of them will be validated. And the first cut that the panel probably is going to make is the ones that are going to be validated or not. So you can probably cut half of that just selecting those ones that are validated. And then for those ones that are validated, there will be others that will be also stage 2. Sorry. And stage 2 means that they are already a chartered professional engineer, or they are in Queensland, let's say, a registered professional engineer of Queensland, which means that they can work unsupervised. So, which is going to be much tougher. Even if you are validated, but if you are competing against chartered professional engineers, which are stage 2, obviously the competition is going to be much harder. So in this scenario, when you have the chartered professional engineer, the engineers that are validated, and then let's say yourself that is not validated. So how do you think is going to be your chance to get shortlisted if you're competing against those ones there? Do you think is going to be high, or do you think is going to be low? Perhaps put in the comments, high or low. What do you think is going to be your chance? So let's see what people think. Sometimes I ask those questions, guys, because obviously I would like you to interact, because it's me just here talking. I can see that you guys are here, but if you guys can interact as well, it's going to be good. And thanks, Regina, saying thank you, good tips. Thank you very much. So if you are not validated, how much do you think is going to be your chances to be shortlisted if you're competing against a large number of engineers that are validated, and also other engineers that are chartered professional engineers as well? Is it going to be low or high? Low chance or high chance to be shortlisted? What do you think? No comments? You don't think anything? All right. Well, if you make up your mind, put in the comments. And as I mentioned before, Queensland is mandatory to have registration to provide professional engineering services if you are not directly supervised. In New South Wales and Victoria, from 1 July this year, they started their registration process. So the sooner you start it, obviously the better, and the sooner you're going to get registered. And remembering, and next week, and that's a good segue for next week. So next week, live session, I'm going to talk about what is the next step after you get your validation. So did you guys get your validation already? Those ones in live with me? Have you been validated already as an engineer? Because next week, I had few people this week that rang me asking about the next step after validation, because they are already looking at working back in engineering, and they want to know what's next step. I'm validated now. What do I need to do next? So next week I'm going to talk about the next steps, and also going to explain and talk about how you can become a chartered professional engineer, a registered professional engineer, a registered professional engineer of Queensland, or be part of the National Engineer Register. So don't miss out next week's live session, which is about the next step after you get validated. Any other question there? Ariel, in process. Yeah, that's good, Ariel. Rodolfo says low chance. Regina says low chance. Yeah, certainly the chance to get a shortlisted is certainly very low, unless you are applying for a position that you are unique in the skills. But a majority of overseas engineers here in Australia will probably going to start applying in entry-level positions or medium level positions. So is not going to be that highly skilled, specialized engineer that just you have the skills in the whole world. So if that's the case, yeah, probably you'll be all right, because if you're the only one in the world that does that, doesn't matter if you are validated or not, company will probably hire you and then will support you to get validated. But if it's not that case, if you're going to apply for an entry-level position, you will be competing with a lot of other people there. Regina said, I work with maintenance. I'm not sure if I can validate. What sort of maintenance, Regina? Are you a civil engineer? Are you a mechanical engineer? Are you production engineer? So sometimes, depending on the maintenance, you can validate, and I'm going to talk about those issues during the workshop as well. So Regina, if you haven't registered yet, I encourage you to register and participate in the workshop, because I will be talking about those issues as well. Okay, I'm conscious of time. I hope really that she's an electrical engineer. Yeah, certainly as an electrical engineer, you can validate your qualification. If you worked with maintenance, depending on the type of maintenance, but some maintenance can be validated. If the work experience is going to be a bit difficult, you can always use your academic experience in the electrical engineering. So there's always a way for you to validate your qualification, and we will be discussing that during the workshop. All right, any other questions there? Yeah, Riel saying, same question as Regina, mechanical engineer with refinery experience. Yeah, good. So yeah, the thing about the maintenance, some maintenance experience, they are eligible. First advice that I give to you guys is to go to ANZ SEO occupation definition and have a look what is the definition of electrical engineer according to ANZ SEO, and mechanical engineer Ariel in the ANZ SEO, and then see if your experience matches with the definition according to ANZ SEO. All right, guys, I hope that these tips, they have been helpful and assist you in your journey to get a professional job here in Australia as an engineer. I would like to thank you guys very much for your participation. And next week, I'm going to talk about the next steps. Even if you haven't validated your qualification yet, I think it's going to be really interesting for you to participate in the live session, because then you can know next steps. What do you need to do after you get your qualification validated, especially because of these registrations, the registration schemes in New South Wales, Victoria, and Queensland. So if you are in Sydney, Melbourne, or in those areas, or here in Queensland, it's going to be very important for you to understand, because the career of an engineer doesn't stop when you get validated. As any other professional, you need to get your continuous development. You need to keep continuing improving until you get your chartered professional engineer, for example. All right, so don't forget to go to my last post in Instagram, hit the like, and put in the comments what was one learning to get a professional job that you got tonight in the comments, and then I will make this Word document here that I'm going to show you guys as a PDF, and I'm going to share in my Telegram with the password that I already told you guys. So that's the PDF, and I hope that you guys like and make some comments, and I'll see you next Sunday, 8:30 p.m. Brisbane time, and going to talk about the next steps after the validation. And if you go to my YouTube, please subscribe to my channel and help my content to go to other engineers as well. Thank you very much and have a good night.